Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about how we get started with business improvement. And there's 4 things I want to talk to you about. I want to talk about the driver for business improvement, the data that you need, the process, and also your problem statement. So let's get into it. First of all, you need to understand what your driver behind the business improvement efforts is. Typical drivers in organizations could be productivity, health and safety. It could be like your market share or what the competition is doing or the feedback that you're getting externally from your customers. It could be also internal feedback from your employees. Maybe you have high turnover and struggle with retention, or there's a bit of a lack of morality in the culture. So those are typical drivers you're looking for, and you want to then look at the data that supports your hunch or supports your gut feeling that there is a business improvement opportunity. When we talk about data in terms of business improvement, we want to know what's our current state, our baseline, where do we sit right now, and then compare that to our benchmark, our target that we would like to achieve or aim for over time as well. And in between the target and our current state, that's where we find the gap, and we're trying to close that gap through our business improvement opportunities incrementally through small improvements over time until hopefully we are hitting the benchmark as well. Then we can look for different benchmarks moving forward. The third thing I want to talk to you about is a big prerequisite for our business improvement efforts or our mindset as well, and that is process. Now, you want to understand for your driver and the data that you have, what is the process that's at fault here? So what's that process that is most likely causing the difference between your outputs? And what I mean by process is what is the steps or the activities that we need to do to turn our input into an output. So how do we process our input into an output? And that could be one or many steps as well. There's a really good acronym in business improvement to remember this. It's called SIPOC, S-I-P-O-C. And this is adding the supplier of the input and the customer at each bookend to the process as well. So we've got our supplier, the input, the process steps, the output, and then our customer. And this could be one and the same person or department, or it could be different ones. That's when we use swim lanes, for example, when we flowchart and map different business processes. Now, one of the big objectives I get from my clients is that they say, oh, we don't really have documented processes. So when I talk about processes, I don't necessarily mean that you have the flowcharts as of right now. They could be documented or undocumented. They can be defined or not defined, so they might vary between different people. Or they could be there documented, but they're not well understood or followed through your departments. Or you've got them and they're outdated. So the processes that we want to improve and re-engineer are really the ones that are actually happening, and they might differ from the ones that we've stored or written down in our BPMS, in our business process management system. That's the place where we document our defined processes ideally, and those are the flow charts that describe how we turn the input into the output. And we can map those processes against best practices processes. So for example, what I said earlier, that change management and project management are related because they are best practices on how we manage behavioral change or how do we manage projects in organizations. So we can look at how do we do change right now in our organization, and how does that compare to the best practices that we have within the industry or within our countries as well. And then we can have business process re-engineering initiatives or projects that do business improvement on the gap between the two. And then over time, we want to have a continuous improvement culture that then re-evaluates whether or not our processes are still in date and applicable and ideal as they are. So it never stops, really, the incremental change. The fourth thing I want to talk to you about in this video is the problem statement or your opportunity statement. And this is the most important thing for kicking off a business improvement opportunity, because that is really what says I found something here that we can work on. And what it is not is a solution statement. So a problem statement or opportunity statement has only 3 different aspects to it. First of all, we want to understand which process is actually at fault here. So what's the object? What's the process that we're going to re-engineer or evaluate and work on that we think if we improve it, we'll get better outcomes. Second, we want to understand what are the symptoms. So let's say we're looking at the driver of productivity and our manufacturing process is the one that we think is at fault because we've got different symptoms or variations in the output, good days, bad days, or a lot of returns from customers because there were products that were manufactured and sent to the customer that are not ideal and so forth. So what are some of the symptoms that are associated to the problem that we have identified, so the fault? And then we want to know what's the impact or the consequences that the organization is experiencing because of the problem and the symptoms. So for example, with the faulty manufacturing process and the biggest variations and faulty products that are sent to the customer, now as an impact, we obviously waste resources, we waste money, we're impacting our reputation within the market, we might lose market share to competitors and so forth. So those are the three elements of a problem statement. What you won't find in a problem statement and what you can't do at this stage in business improvement is to say what we need to do to fix that. So it's not a solution statement. Right now we don't know what actions we need to take in order to fix this. Humans often go like, oh, you know, if we train the people better, this will work, or if we add quality control at the end, we will reduce the problems and so forth. Like at this stage, we haven't analyzed the data yet. We're only just saying there is an issue here, a problem here that we would like to spend some time, effort, budget for in order to re-engineer and improve our processes and have a better outcome. So I hope this video has helped you. Before you move on, I'd like you to sit down either by yourself or with colleagues, a small group of 3 maybe, and reflect on what are some of the business improvement opportunities that you see within your organization. Like look at maybe a driver that's close to your heart, like see if you have some data and maybe identify a gap to a benchmark, then look at what the process would be that you're focusing on here and have a go at crafting your problem statement. So like the process at fault, the symptoms that we see and the consequences or impact of that as well. So I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.